right, welcome to Loud and Proud Orlando. It's Monday, March the 30th, 6:36 p.m. Thank you so much for your support. We're live, and definitely we have a lot of topics to talk about today. It's our FIFA 2026 World Cup new intro and also our layout for what's coming, a really big tournament. I think the biggest in the world, the FIFA World Cup, is coming to US, Canada, and Mexico. So we're definitely very excited. So we decided that we're gonna kind of change it up a bit every time we talk about the national team. So for everybody that's coming, please subscribe, drop us your thumbs up, drop your comments on the box. And then today we have a packed show. Again, we thank you for your support. We have today to talk about the U.S. men's national team loss against Belgium. It started all well for them. Unfortunately, they ended up taking 5 goals and an L. Is Poch out? People and fans are claiming that he needs to be ousted out of the national team. Marco Pasalic shining with Croatia. Definitely, I think the man of the match against Colombia. A lot of really good positive vibes from Pasalic, which seems to be at the moment the starter for the Croatian national team on that flank. So this is huge news for Orlando. Also, the GA Cup, it started. Some results already occurred. We'll discuss also, give a little breakdown on the Ricardo Moreira talks about Griezmann. It's been Griezmann mania in Central Florida. I mean, he's been talking to a lot of people, but the latest was SiriusXM, which I know David had a tweet that he put out that it was pretty interesting. So we'll discuss that and all of that and more. And as well, we'll add it to that. We'll dive into how Griezmann is going to impact Orlando City. And I know that David broke out all the stats as well in his article that has been put in our socials. And real expectations. We're going to do a little bit of a game here. We're going to predict who's going to win the World Cup. I know it's a little early. I think it'll be fun to kind of throw our hat and see what happens. So before I go to David, let's read some comments. It's good evening, fellas. Don't think we've had a podcast since the Griezmann official news. World Cup starts in 73 days, says Donnie Moore. That's right. Daniel Vega. Hey, guys. Hey, what's up, my friend? David, how are you, my friend? Good to see you again.
Yeah, doing well. Had a good week. I'm excited to be back to chop it up with everybody. It was a weird weekend not having Orlando City to watch, so that was interesting. But got to watch a decent amount of international soccer, so that was fun. Watching the U.S. was not as fun, but we'll talk about that.
I mean, it started pretty well.
Yeah, it had a pretty good start and then fell off pretty quickly there. But no, I was able to watch some pretty good international football this weekend. I'm looking forward to watching some more tomorrow. There's a lot of good stuff going on. I plan to be glued to my TV tomorrow for those international playoff games to see who the last teams are in the World Cup. So yeah, super excited. And I'm excited to chop it up about our kids. Let's talk about the academy a little bit later. That's going to be a fun time.
For sure. First off, the U.S. men's national team lost against Belgium. It was a 5-2 at home, which it hurts. But, again, this is preparations towards the World Cup. I commend the U.S. to find superior competition. If you look at the roster, you look where those players play. Doku is one of the best left wingers in the world. And I think Weah did great until the first half to contain him. And then he went off. I think the U.S. looked sharp in the first half. McKennie obviously banging in that volley, for the lead. Robinson flying down on the left like the beast that he is as a player. And in the second half, the intensity dropped and they had defensive lapses. And again, Belgium's quality, it's right there, especially those subs. When I saw Axel Witsel coming in, I was like, yo, this is over. Pochettino called it a reality check. I don't know how many reality checks Poch has had already. I mean, I like the fact that they're fighting the fight against tougher competition. Is going to get tougher because here comes Portugal. And obviously, he took the blame. He said that his plan is not changing. It kind of reminded me of Oscar in a way. And some adjustments, certainly, I think some of the subs that came in for that game did not have the same intensity as the starters, except maybe Aggie Man. Alex Freeman came in. I felt that he held his own decently, not flashy. I think there's going to be a lot of big lessons coming up because Portugal is knocking on the door 75 days from the start of their dream of playing in a World Cup for all these players. So now, my question here is Alex Freeman, dude. Like Alex Freeman left Orlando. He was gonna go get minutes in Villarreal, and Villarreal, I think he's making him pass the hors d'oeuvres or the towels in Villarreal because he gets 0 minutes, and I have a feeling like those are the type of things that make players decide. I'm like, is he really ready? I have a feeling that if he would have kept playing in Orlando, he probably would be a starter in this team. I don't know. What are your thoughts, man, on the game, real quick, and how do you see Alex Freeman?
Yeah, so I mean, like Luis said, started off pretty strongly. I was pleasantly surprised at how well the U.S. did to sort of contain Belgium to get started in the game. Had some really nice chances. I thought McKennie looked like the best U.S. player on the field throughout the entire first half, and really for much of the game, I think he was like arguably the best player on the field. I loved what I saw from Anthony Robinson. It's so great to see him back in a U.S. jersey. I know he's been banged up on and off for the last 12, 18 months. So to see him really be able to get on the field and do all that was great. I'm not as high on Weah's performance. I know a lot of people were giving Weah a lot of credit, and
well, in the first 30 minutes,
yeah, I don't want to take anything away from him. I thought he was serviceable to contain Doku, but to your point, I don't know that I'd say Doku is one of the best wingers in the world, but he's certainly one of the fastest wingers in the world. And so if you can't contain him, you're in trouble. Like you just are. And that's why, like, I thought it was a head scratcher for Pochettino to play him. Like, I get that there was a reason to try to get Weah on the field so that he can hopefully contribute for you up the field, like when you're in the attack. But I just think more of maybe a pure defender would have been a better shout to maybe see if you can contain Doku a little bit more. You were going to have to double him nonetheless. But the problem was the double ended up coming on the side that McKennie was on. So you're taking McKennie out of the attack and you're taking Weah out of the attack, which I thought was strange. When McKennie, I would argue, is probably your most in-form player going into this window. So just kind of weird moves from Pochettino, to be honest. Then, of course, yeah. We break through on the Weah goal, which, on the McKennie goal, which McKennie was begging for a goal, especially in some of the chances that he had early on in the game. But he gets that goal, and then the U.S. just kind of falls asleep. Like, I don't really know what happened. They score the goal, and then the ball falls perfectly to DeBass. There's no argument about that. It falls perfectly to him. He puts a heck of a shot on that ball to kind of squeak by everybody in the box, but nobody really closes him out. Nobody does a really good job at getting the ball fully out of the box. And I think the U.S. hoping to go into the half up 1-0, go into the half 1-1, and I think you're hanging your head a little bit with the way it looks. And then the second half comes on, and just the U.S. just doesn't have fight. I mean, there just wasn't a lot of fight there. We found out that Christian Roldan came on for Johnny Cardoso, who I thought Cardoso was good in this game.
I never understood that move, but
well,
go ahead.
Apparently it was planned. Apparently he had a knock going into the game, and he said he could give 45 minutes. So he gave 45 minutes. So good for Cardoso. But I just think he was good. And then once that happened, the wheels fell off. I mean, you got the goal by Onana, then you got the penalty that was given up by Tim Ream. I thought Tim Ream had a shocker of a game. To me, he has no business being in the starting lineup for the U.S. if they plan to go anywhere. I know he's got the passing ability and all that kind of stuff. I just don't think he has it defensively. I think teams that have great attackers are going to take advantage of him, and that's exactly what happened. To pivot to Freeman a little bit, because he does get on in this game, and he gets some minutes. He looked like a dude that hasn't played a lot of minutes this season, and that's exactly what it was. I thought he was okay. Like, I can't say there was much that was sort of his fault, so to speak, but I just wasn't really impressed by him. But honestly, this team shipped a lot of goals, so how are you going to be impressed by that at all? To really talk about the bigger picture of Alex Freeman, though, it's starting to look like a mistake because, like, I don't know that he's a starter right now because he's just not getting minutes at Villarreal. He's on this team. I don't think he's going to play himself off this team, if that makes sense. I think he makes the final World Cup roster, especially if Dest is injured, and we'll see what happens with Serginho Dest. But Freeman's got to get minutes, and I don't think Villarreal's going to give it to him. And the window's closed now, so it's not like you can loan him anywhere and try to get him minutes before the World Cup. So, I mean, good on him for going to Europe and getting his dream and all that kind of stuff, but I just don't think he's in form right now, and that doesn't bode well for him or the U.S. going into the World Cup.
He's I feel like he's putting, and this is, I talk with all due respect. I think he's putting all eggs in the basket of him having a monster of a World Cup to force Villarreal to give him minutes. Now you have to understand, when you move from MLS to Europe so suddenly, it's not, Spaniards are not going to guarantee you minutes, especially if you're American. And with all due respect, I mean, this is true in reality. They'd rather give minutes to somebody from their academy than an American. You know what I mean? So it seems kind of weird, but sometimes it is that way over there. And I felt like the U.S. started very aggressively. And Anthony Robinson, I think he's definitely a must start in every single game. He was electric on the left. I think he was probably one of the best players in the first half. Those long throws, pushing high. Him and McKennie. Malik Tillman also was fantastic. I feel like he created a lot of chances. Florian Balogun, he had a couple. He still needs to get into, becoming that top scorer as he shows in Monaco every weekend. And then Robinson again, found McKennie of a corner of a set piece, and it was a fantastic goal. It was McKennie's 12th international goal. First goal in 3 years. So it's tremendous. Now, a lot of people online are also saying that Matt Turner, it wasn't his best game. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I saw some moments that showed me the old Matt Turner of, like, this guy can save anything, how he gets sold from, the Revs in the first place and all that kind of stuff. But I saw other moments where it was like, you kind of looked at it as a guy that, is just not super in form right now. Obviously, the MLS season just started, so it's kind of hard to ask a lot from Matt Turner at the moment. I think Pochettino made a choice of, play Turner in this game, and then I think we're going to see Freese against Portugal, because I think he's going to try to give each keeper a game, and I think this is Freese's job to lose. If Freese goes into Portugal and plays a solid game and can show some things off and things like that, I think he's going to be in a good spot. I know Freese has had a back-and-forth start to the season for NYCFC, but I still think it's his job to lose. I think the other questions, though, outside of this roster that I'm just wondering is that we know Miles Robinson's not going to play a single game for this team. He has I think it was some knee discomfort, so he's not going to play at all. It came out today that we will see. I'm blanking. Chris Richards. We're going to see Chris Richards against Portugal. He says he is available. I don't know if that means he's available enough to start, but I hope he is, because Chris Richards is by far our best center back. I don't think there's any argument there. But I would love to see him kind of slide in and see what we can do there. Obviously, the news came out today that Cardoso is going back to Atletico Madrid to receive the rest of his treatment, which stinks, because I would have loved to see Cardoso in another game to see what that looks like. But here's the big thing, Luis. We haven't seen an informed Christian Pulisic in the last couple windows, man. Like, he's got to get going. Like, if he's the star of the U.S., he's got to find a way to spark.
This is, the United States of America has great, if one thing the U.S. the past few years has shown in the World Cup, especially I remember the Dempsey era, Landon Donovan era, is that these guys had grit. You know what I mean? They had a fight, especially Dempsey.
Yeah.
I remember the U.S. got robbed a couple of times at the World Cup. So, we don't see this bite. I don't know if it's because maybe Sydney Sweeney is, I don't know, maybe there something going on there. Sydney Sweeney is like, maybe waking, keeping him up at night. I don't know. I mean, I just feel like we need to see a leader, and so far what I've seen is a fit Weston McKennie looks like that leader, but I do feel, and the way I saw it was, and I hope people don't get offended, but what I felt in this game particularly is like a lot of players are like firecrackers. They get very frustrated easily. Like for example, McKennie already got a yellow card. I mean, what do you need a yellow card on a friendly, bro? Like, like chill out a little bit. You know what I mean? I know that you want to win, but winning doesn't mean that you're going to get yellow cards and jeopardize your team. Um, and we need that sort of leadership that's going to be able to carry the team. Now, I don't doubt of his ability, but I also felt that he was double marked. They had him already pinpointed. The fact is, he didn't have a willing to fight back out of that double marking for him to create any chances. Chances were happening in the first half from Malik Tillman, from Anthony Robinson, and even sometimes Florian Balogun dropping down a little lower. But I didn't see nothing from Pulisic. So, yeah, you're completely right there.
And I'll say this, Luis. I think this camp is missing Haji Wright. I think it was a mistake that they didn't bring Haji Wright in. He's been on fire with Coventry City this year. I think that's a mistake. I think going into the next game, not that I'm thinking Balogun had a bad game, but I think Pochettino needs to see what he has in terms of attacking talent. So like Gio Reyna, yeah, but I think Gio Reyna needs to get some more time. I think between Ajiman and Pepe, you got to see which one of those guys is your true first option off the bench if you're going to bring a striker off the bench. I think I want to see a little bit more of Paxton Aronson because I just don't think we saw, we didn't see any of him, and I think he's somebody, or sorry, Brendan Aronson, not Paxton, that's his brother. Brendan Aronson, we need to see a little bit more of as well. And then I think in the defense, you need to shake it up. Obviously, I hope Chris Richards is good enough to go 90 and he can start, but I'm going to be honest, I don't want to see Tim Ream start next to him. I just don't. If you're going to play four in the back, I would rather see an Austin Trusty, or I'd rather see a McKenzie next to him. I'm more of a Trusty guy than a McKenzie guy, but pick your poison and do it that way. But I think we need to see some different things in the second game. And I think the biggest thing we need to see, to your point, is we need to see that fight. And what's interesting is Portugal played Mexico on the same night.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up.
There was a lot of fight in that game. Mexico and Portugal were going at it all night. If you guys didn't know, they reopened the new Azteca that just got its remodel. It looks gorgeous. I can't wait.
Yeah, it was beautiful. And I mean, it was going to be a nightmare. If let's say, they were, one thing about Mexico is they brought that fight because it was the Azteca.
Yeah.
I mean, they had to either tie or not lose. Because if they were going to lose in their inaugural for the remodeled Azteca, it was going to be massive news. It was going to be like, people, it would have tanked all sales for tickets and all of that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, go ahead, man. Sorry.
So I just think the biggest thing for me for the U.S. is that, like, I understand, and it's sort of how Luis kicked off this segment. You don't fire a coach this late in the cycle, right? It's not going to happen. He's going to be your guy. He's going to be your guy through the World Cup. But I think the two big things that Pochettino has got to figure out between now and when the World Cup happens, and don't forget, guys, we have another set of games after this one. It's not technically on an international break, but it is another set of games. We've got Senegal coming up, which is another good challenge, but a team from AFCON who we haven't really challenged as of late. And then we finish out our World Cup warm-ups with Germany, of all teams. So we're playing three top 10 FIFA ranked teams in these two windows, right? So it's a big test for the United States. It always was going to be. But the first thing that Ponch needs to get out of this guy is you need fighters. You need to find a way to spark these dudes. There was no fight to end that game against Belgium. I think anybody can tell you that there was no fight to end that game. And then the second thing you need to do is, I think the goal for Pochettino was to put guys on that maybe had better chemistry versus putting all of your stars in the field in the best spots. I think the goal for the U.S. is get all of your best players on the field. Find a way formationally to get your best players on the field, and those firecrackers that you can get off the bench. And by firecrackers, I mean not just bringing energy, but bringing production with their energy, is having those guys identified and ready to go. Because I'm going to be honest with you, I don't know that Christian Roldan was the smart
Hell
choice
no.
to swap on for Cardoso, right? I just don't
No.
think that was the right change, right? Max Arfston came into the game. He's not a defender by trade. Max Arfston is more of a left wing back. That's really what his role is. He's not a great defender. So again, I don't really know what the thought process was there. So I think you need to find ways to get the best players on the field. And I think a formation change might be it. And I'm one of those people that believes 3 at the back is the answer for the U.S. I think you get the 3 best center backs on the field that you can get on the field. You play Robinson and whoever else on the right-hand side as wing backs, and then you get all of your best players in the middle of the field on that you possibly can. I think that's the recipe for success.
Like that.
That's how you find a way to win. You get McKinney in the central areas. You get him in the central channel. You get him on that. He also likes to hang out in that sort of what we like to call the right half space. He likes to hang out in that right half space. You let him get involved there. You let Pulisic get involved in the other half space. You let Balogun do the running that he's going to do, and just get the best dudes on the field, man. And I'm so tired of the Cardoso slander as well. Cardoso has played a decent amount of games with Atletico Madrid, and Atletico Madrid is not a slouch of a team this year. They are a very solid to good team. Obviously, I've been doing a lot of scouting on them since Antoine Griezmann has signed with Orlando City and all that kind of stuff. But don't forget, guys, Atletico Madrid is still in Champions League. They're still playing. They're in the final of the Copa del Rey, where they knocked off Barcelona to get there. And Cardoso was in the middle of that for a lot of it. Like, this kid is not a slouch. He knows how to play. And so I would just like to find a way to get the best players on the field. And unfortunately for us, with the hometown bias, I don't know that Freeman is one of those players right now. I feel bad that I have to say that. He just isn't in form. So I just don't know how much we're going to be able to get out of him at this point.
Yeah, I mean, the second half, it was literally, I would call it a 14-minute disaster, because between minute 53rd to the 67th, I believe, Belgium literally scored 3 times. And then the U.S. just kind of demoralized. I appreciate what Patrick Aguiman brought in. He brought one late in the 87th minute. Mm-hmm. I appreciated Ricardo Pepe's swagger of trying to do the press, but it was just not enough. But again, I'm a big fan of Romelu Lukaku, and today, in this game,
he wasn't in this game, and Courtois wasn't in this game either.
Yeah. So, but his substitution, Luka Bacchio, he looked spot on. I mean, like, Belgium didn't miss a beat right there at the 9th spot, which is kind of what you want to see in a team that's been together for a long time. Like, Luka Bacchio is new with Belgium. He's new with Belgium, and when it comes to this U.S. team, where is the gelling, right? Where are the connections?
It's true.
And we're 75 days out now. Pochettino admitted that that the U.S. matched Belgium's intensity in moments, and I just felt like that was. And then he talked about that. Oh, we're missing Tyler Adams, Chris Richards, Miles Robinson, Serginho Dest. With all due respect, I think out of those 4 names he mentioned, Tyler Adams and Chris Richards, to me right now, are probably like misses, right?
Yeah,
sure. Players, but Miles is being out for a while, and Serginho, I've honestly never liked Serginho, bro. I don't think he even has the physicality now.
But if you're gonna play the wing back role, like I talked about with 3 at the back, I think he's a really good wing back. I think him and Anthony Robinson give you what you want out of the wing back spots. I think if this game was Cardoso and Tyler Adams in the middle of the park, I think you have better success and better luck.
That would have been great.
I think if Chris Richards is in this game, you have better luck,
Yeah.
right? I wholeheartedly believe that. I don't know. Again, I know a lot of people are bagging on Turner. I just don't know if Freese is in this game, if it goes much differently, like maybe a little bit, but I don't know that it goes that much differently. Where it's not like we have a superstar in goal where we can say this is the guy, right? Like Belgium would have had Courtois and he would have been hands down the starting keeper. We don't have that for the U.S. And like I said, the only other one I was kind of hoping for is Haji Wright to get in this team, because I think he's deserved a call up with what he's done for Coventry, and the guy's been clutch with Coventry, and we need that clutch trait, right? Like we need somebody who's going to be able to come off the bench and just be able to like provide a really nice quality spark if Balogun doesn't have it in the games that Balogun is in. So moving forward though to Portugal, I'm really interested to see, if we decide to change the formation and do some different things, do we run out Tim Weah again? Because remember, this time Tim Weah is going to go up against somebody like João Felix, because João Felix started for Portugal. And João Felix is not the fastest dude, but he is technical as all heck.
Technical as hell,
and
bro.
he's going to beat
He's
you
so
up if you're
dangerous.
not a good defender. So to me, and again, I don't want to show bias, I play Alex Freeman. See what Alex Freeman has against somebody like João Felix. See if he's able to rise to that level. See if he can use his physicality to keep João Felix out of the center of the field and making chances for this Portugal team. Again, this is a Portugal team without CR7. He's not in this camp. He's banged up right now. So this is an opportunity to see maybe a B+ squad for Portugal, I would say, maybe.
Well, I think we should not. They're still a top contender for them.
No, for sure. I'm not taking away anything from Portugal. Please don't think I am.
I mean, although let me tell you, I think the U.S. has a bigger responsibility now. Now you have to understand the World Cup is in the U.S., the World Cup is in Mexico, and the World Cup is in Canada. But mainly, most of the games are being played in the U.S. Let's be completely honest.
Yeah.
As a host, you want to make sure you show fight. That you show that you could stand toe-to-toe to these teams right now.
Sure.
Mexico, in a way, even though they've had pardon my French, a crappy qualifiers and all of that they're kind of not as popular right now as the U.S. You still have to,
and they just lost some guys. They lost their starting goalkeeper in Malagan. They lost. There's the one other guy they lost as well. So they're hurting pretty badly.
But they showed a lot of attitude against Portugal in the Estadio Azteca. So now the U.S. is forced to show the same level of intensity against a top 5 team in the world. So, is the U.S. going to do it? I mean, they better show some grit. I mean, no one's saying get injured. Yeah. But but what I'm trying to say is, like,
and Luis, I'm not even saying you need to win. Like, and I know that sounds weird to say, but like, get a draw or play it close, and I think you're fine. That's what you're looking for at this point, right? Because like for example, if this game ends 3-2, right, in favor of Portugal, I'm a little upset because of the loss. But if we're competitive throughout the entire game, or and we're taking it to Portugal and we're able to dictate some of our play, that's what I'm looking for. You just can't get blown out again. You can't have another 5-2, 5-1. Like that just can't happen again. You just can't let that happen.
So I have some Pochettino quotes to close this part of the pod of the show. On the result, he said, 5-2 is a difficult result to accept. It is painful, but we can take so many positive things. The first half was really good for us. We played better than Belgium. Then he said, we dropped our intensity. That is a very hard challenge. It was a good reality check to feel the pain. Sometimes it's good for the players. Okay, all right. Brock Lesnar. I don't know. Like, bring the pain or something. And on the penalty, which I wanted to get to that because to me, I agree with Poch here. I don't think this was a penalty. And again, a penalty that for me was not a penalty. I don't understand why VAR asked to check. It really didn't. It barely even touched his hand, dude. Like it looked like he touched it with his hand, and it was not. To me, it was not a penalty. But again, this is going to happen in the World Cup. That's why you have to score the chances you make, especially against top teams.
Yeah, agreed.
And then they ask him about the big picture. So after all these L's that you've dropped with the team, after all these draws you've dropped with the team, after being in the team for so long now, what's the big picture of this team? And
Sure.
it's not a thing to be concerned about the World Cup. We need to improve, of course, but it's only one game. He praised Robinson's return and emphasized learning from details, especially Pulisic missed chance right before Belgium's second goal. Yeah, that was insane. That to me is Sydney Sweeney coming up and be like, hey, we have a date after the game. Don't forget. And then he just forgot he was Christian Pulisic.
Luis,
I won't forget too. Don't get me wrong.
Can I say this though? I think it's almost good if Pulisic's not the guy. And I know this is going to sound weird because he's been the guy for so long. But I think the pressure at this point, I know he said in the press conference before the game, and this was a couple days before the game, but he was like, there's always pressure. I don't care about the pressure. It's always there, whatever. But I think almost if Weston McKennie becomes the guy, which I think he's really starting to like turn into the guy, right? Which I love because I love Weston McKennie. I think everything about him is awesome. And I hope one day when he comes to MLS, he comes to Orlando City. That's like a bias for me. But anyway,
that'd be great.
With all that though, maybe the pressure comes off of Pulisic a little bit if Weston McKennie takes on that mantle a bit, right? Like let Weston run with it. He's in form. He's feeling good. He's got the energy and all that kind of stuff. And then let Pulisic go work on his game. Let him just grow into the game. Figure out how to get involved. Figure out like how he can go score. Because remember, with the start of the season for AC Milan, he was on fire. Like nobody touched Pulisic. He was on a crazy pace. So they just need to find a way to like get him involved. Don't force him so much. Let him take those shots. Let him bury a couple of goals. Get a couple of assists. Just like find ways to mix and match and be able to do that. And he's got a great partner in Jedi Robinson. Robinson is fantastic, man. Like every big club should be looking at Robinson if they aren't
100%.
already. This kid is nasty. Like just filthy. So he's got a great partner behind him that can help him out. And that's why I think a back three is helpful for this team because then Robinson can stay further up and really have nice interplay between Pulisic and himself, and he can make the overlap while Pulisic takes the underlap, and then whatever midfielder you put in there. I'm a Gio Reyna guy if he's in form and fit, but maybe a Gio Reyna, or if you put Weston on that side, he can play with them a little bit too. Tillman, I like Malik Tillman as well. I think Tillman could do that with them as well. But the other person I think, not that I think his job is at risk, but he's got to find a spark. Is Balogun's got to find a spark. He's got it with his club side. He's been really good for Monaco this season, but he's got to find the spark at the international level. We've never really seen him rise to the competition, right? He's done it against poor competition. We need to see him do it against a top 10 team. We need to see that fire, that spark, that fight. And that's why I said like Haji Wright might have been perfect for this camp, because I think he would have been somebody who would have come on the field and be like, I don't give a crap what team you are. I'm going to come and try to score. So maybe you give a Patrick Aubameyang an opportunity and let that big dude kind of go up and do his thing. He's been really good for Derby this year. Or maybe you give somebody like a Ricardo Pepi, who's also been in form before he was injured, a chance to try to like show something or spark something. So it'll be an interesting game. I hope the guys are up for it. They really need a bounce back for sure.
Yeah, so and there's a question right here. We're going to read some comments right now, and then we'll finish up this. It says Legacy Orchestra Collective. Poch Out. He doesn't seem like he's the guy for this squad. So I agree with you. When I heard Pochettino was taking over the U.S., I'm like, it doesn't really match, in my opinion. I mean, if you look at where these players play abroad, I understand. Number one, you're the former coach of Tottenham, one of the most cold-chested, like choked teams of all time in the Premier League. You know, like with all due respect, and that's one thing not to take apart. That's the number one. Number two is there's a lot of the players that play in the U.S. play in Germany. Playing in Europe, more of like English speaking type of. They're not playing in Boca Juniors and playing in Corinthians, and they're playing in like South America. So I really didn't see why the U.S. was moving away from Jurgen Klinsmann. You know what I mean? And they could have gotten Thomas Tuchel. They could have gotten a German coach. You know what I mean? Something that will know how to make the best out of Pulisic, out of Gio Reyna, out of even Weston McKennie. I feel like
Luis, I even think somebody like a Jesse Marsh, who they decided to
Correct.
pass on, would have been a better fit for this team.
Right.
I think keeping BJ Callahan, who I think might be the future coach of the US, would have been a choice for that team.
Yeah. So to me was like, okay, well, now Pochettino comes out, and because he's Argentinian, and with all due respect, again, it's just the way I see it, because I see it all the time with Argentinian coaches. They pick their guys already. You know what I mean? And for Poch, Balogun is his guy because he plays in freaking Monaco, bro. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care if you play, you know what I mean? He plays. So I agree with what David says, that they needs to, I mean, you have to understand the US right now, what this has taught us, being completely rational and honest. The US can compete with top 10 sides for 45 minutes. That's it. But in order for the U.S. to win over top 10 sides, you got to have that intensity. You have to have that tight end box defending. You have to be able to handle and have elite subs. Home advantage ain't saving you. You know, like, if you want to get to that quarterfinal, semifinal, if you want to be that team, you know, you got to have that. And to me, it feels like the way he's kind of putting his team together, it seems like it's the ones who only play in Europe. You know, try the guys who show you more bite. You know what I mean? Like the Berhalters, Arfston, Aggie. If Aggie Man has more bite than Balogun, take him out and put Aggie Man in. You know what I mean? Like, these are the reasons why these are tests. You know, these are friendly games to test these things out, because you cannot experiment in the World Cup, and you cannot underestimate anybody in your group. And it says, we need that same fight like the 2014 team that they were dogs. I completely agree with you. Hadji is physical too, says Spicy Gnocchi. Dest is short, not fast. He does not like to fall back and defend near the box. And he's injury prone, unfortunately, too.
Well, but that's why I said I think Dest's best position is wing back. And if you're playing wing back, I don't think you're asking him to defend as much.
Was kind of hoping that we would give Casemiro a call. Would hate to see Inter Miami sign him. Oh, man.
They can't sign him. I don't know what, like, this is the bigger conversation that I don't understand. Casemiro is making 18 million pounds at Manchester United, right? He said they told him he can leave on a free in the summer. That's fine. The problem is his wage alone would be well over the DP threshold. So even if he takes the discount to go play for Messi and the plastic stadium that's about to open down south, he's not going to take a discount of $16 million to go play with Messi.
Well, what if Jorge Mas is like, hello, my friend. Let me show you, my friend. Let me talk to you, my friend.
Are you insinuating that they're going to illegally put somebody on the books
No,
again?
they're like, let me talk to you, my friend. Say hello to my little friend here.
He's
gonna come up. He's gonna come up and he's gonna say, "Hey, would you like that mansion right there, Miami Beach? You want it? Yes, sir. Okay, 150 million. I'll buy it for you. But if you wanna sign with Inter Miami, man, you have to pay me, chico.
The only way
I'll pay you $1 million.
The only way it works, and if this is signaling towards something, is if MLS is deciding to add a fourth DP by the summer window, which I've been advocating the entire season.
Can you imagine if that happens?
Well, yeah, people are going to be pissed, but I wouldn't be as mad, because at that point, my thought is, okay, Orlando, you just brought in Antoine Griezmann, go get your other DP.
Hell yeah!
Like, you should have a list. Go bring me Lukaku. Bring me Memphis Depay. Bring me
bring me Memphis.
Bring whatever attacker you want. This team needs like shit hosiery. Excuse my language, but they need that like shit hosiery and bite. Memphis Depay will give you that bite. Romelu Lukaku will give you that bite. Like, go and get one of those dudes to give you some bite.
If
I like Casemiro, don't get me wrong. I agree. Casemiro's great, but I just don't Miami doesn't have the money. So unless there's some, and they're not going to move on from Berterame that quickly. They're obviously not going to move on from Messi, and they just got DePaul, and they're not going to move on from DePaul. So unless there's some funny money BS going on here, I don't know how they bring them in.
Can they offer them a $150 million mansion in Miami Beach?
No, because it's part of his compensation. That's what Matuidi got in trouble for. Remember Blaise Matuidi? They got in trouble because he was the fourth DP?
Yeah, and then we're like, hey, I go ahead and I put on the books $1 million, but he already give you a mention. How about that? And then next year you'll be a DP. I mean, I have a feeling like you.
Yeah.
That the league's gonna maybe try to pull something, and then it's gonna be like, "Oh, we're trying to improve soccer in America, and one more DP for every team, guys. You guys gonna have one more DP. I allow it." That would be like, come on, man, this is so messed up. But I think if that happens, which I doubt that will happen.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're talking nonsense right now. But if, let's say, that would happen, how bad the league would look, so unprofessional, number one, but doing that, changing your rule right in the middle of everything. And number two is like the way to pander to Inter is unbelievable there. You know what I mean? They'll be completely exposed, more than they are already now. You know what I mean? It says, I think can work well together to double team. Says Freeman is better back than Wea, because Wea needs to be pushed up on the attack. Will Italy qualify? We'll talk in just a second. Good evening, fellas. Don't think we had a podcast since the Griezmann official news. But yeah, so thank you for everybody that joined in. So let's discuss now Pasalic, because Marco Pasalic, according to FOTMob, let me go ahead and pull that out right now. I'm looking at the Colombia-Croatia match. Hold on one second. And he had a lot of big praise. He was the star of the match in this game. And he was rated 8.2 out of 10. So he was the highest rated player for Croatia. When his coach was asked about the MLS, he says, I think coming to the league was a great decision for him. I think he's getting the minutes he wanted to have in Croatia and less injuries, so the environment is working for him. He's becoming a more of like a box-to-box kind of menace in a way. He's able to defend and attack effectively now. So literally, their coach praised the league, praised the team, praised Orlando on how they took a Pasalic that had a lot of potential, but didn't really show a lot when in Croatia, to now becoming one of the best players and most influential players so far in these games for Croatia, to a point that it seems that he's firmly going to go to the World Cup now. And again, you brought it up on the last pod, David. This is a player that may be on his way out, looking for a way to possibly, fly like a bird back to Europe. And right now he's doing, especially for club and country, he's becoming very important for both sides.
Yeah, I think the other thing to note here as well is that Croatia plays in what I like formationally in a 3-5-2, and so he played as a right wing back, and I thought Pasalic did very well on both sides of the ball. I think when he was asked to defend and get back to defend, he did a nice job. He obviously got forward and had some great work up there. He should have had 2 assists. Petar Musa completely just whiffed on one that he should have put in the back of the net. But I mean, Pasalic was just in the right spots at the right time the entire night. He had fire. He had the bite that we've been looking for, that we've been kind of missing a little bit from him this season, club-wise. But he had a 93% passing accuracy rate. He created 3 chances. He blocked 2 shots. He won his duels and his scrimmages. He had 5 defensive contributions for the entire match, with 75% for his ground duels won. So, I mean, he just played a heck of a game. Everyone had such great things to say about him, as Luis just said, about his manager and all that kind of stuff. Just really quality performance against a good South American opponent, right? Colombia is no slouch of a team. So, I think they're ranked in the top 20, if I'm not mistaken. So,
yeah. And it'll...
Yeah. So I will say this is like, he got lucky because I didn't think Luis Diaz was that good in this game, honestly. I thought he could have been much better, and obviously I thought their striker Suarez could have been much better. Suarez just completely whiffed on one of the chances, but I thought he played him well. I always like watching Colombia, though, because I have a bias. I love watching John Arias. I just think he's a really good player, and so it was a lot of fun to watch. But I think Croatia has a really nice test coming up next to kind of see what this team is made of. And I think Pasalic, because I imagine he'll start again, I think Pasalic will have a really interesting time against a not as strong as one would expect Brazilian side for their next match.
Yeah, I know that. I mean, right now, and again, I'm going to say with a lot of respect, I'm going to say like it is, at least my opinion. Obviously, as a South American, I'm going to root for South America as well. But I mean, honestly, the disparity is pretty big. I mean, when it comes to just technology, level of play, how they do their under 18s, 20s, 19s in different parts of the world. And be honest with you, with Colombia, I mean, they did great in the qualifiers. They're ranked 13th in the world. Croatia's ranked 11. And Colombia not only got a 1-2 punch by Croatia in this game, but also they got a 1-2 punch by France. So it tells you that, I mean, France is looking also poised to compete. Now, what really sucked about Colombia was, again, they didn't show Croatia was able to disrupt them in the mid really easily, really deconstructed their game. Also defending, they were spot on. And they didn't really care about all the noise because, I mean, that stadium was over 90% Colombian. And because there's a huge Colombian community. And so if your own people are not motivating you enough to bite back against the Croatians, I mean, it has to tell you something, guys. You know what I mean? Maybe they do have some good players, but would it be enough? You know, again, I think Colombia is a tremendous team. I think they're amazing people. I just feel like in these 2 games, they got bitten hard. I mean, number 1, France is number 2 in the world FIFA rankings, and obviously Croatia's number 11. So this was their even Stevens game. This was their game in which it was number 11 against number 13. You know what I mean? And they failed this game. So I expect a little bit more by Colombia as well.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. It just seemed like after the John Arias goal, Colombia just kind of went into a shell. I'm not really sure what that was about or what the game plan was there, but it just seemed kind of weird to me that they just didn't seem like they had a lot of fight. I mean, James looks like he's a guy that hasn't gotten a lot of minutes this year, and boy, is that accurate. I mean, he just hasn't.
People in Colombia were complaining about him even being called up.
Right. And so I think it's finally starting to show that like James Rodriguez can't go and just skate his way to his international team and just expect him to do well. And I just think this was a very well disciplined Croatian side, and that's exactly what they 100%. Needed to do against this team, and they were just very, very well disciplined. And I'm excited, like I said, to see him against Brazil, because Brazil does not have an A roster right now. Rafinha just got hurt in the last game, so they lost what is, I think, their best player on their team right now, and they're going to play a very stout Croatian side who I think is going to make it very difficult for this team.
100%.
And don't forget, Modric didn't start for Croatia in this game, so he wasn't in the midfield, pinging his passes around and doing his thing, even at his like older age. It's going to be interesting. I think I wouldn't be surprised if Brazil also gets a reality check against Croatia tomorrow. I think it's something you need to watch
Now,
for.
now I do want to say though, when Marco Pasalic was asked, "Hey, so what do you think about Antoine Griezmann coming to Orlando?" His response was epic. He said, "I already played with the best Croatian player of all time, Luka Modric. So I'm good. I think it's a good addition." Like he's like, "I already played with Modric, bro." Like, I mean, if you compare what Modric has won, obviously he's been a really top level player in
And
Madrid, but
still doing at his age. Like,
yeah.
still doing at his age.
Pastor was like, I already played with Modric. You know what I mean? Like, I can, I'm happy for that. You know what I mean? But I mean, I just love the way he answered, like, so casual, like, yeah, it's another player, I think he's going to be great. So let's read some more comments. It's here. I realize the game Marco isn't the problem, is the Orlando City team. Yeah, no, Marco was never the problem. I mean, I just feel like with Orlando, I mean, you have to understand, and again, this is my perception, again, this is opinion. When a player is winning, he's going to be happy. When a player is losing and he's winning in the national team, it has happened with Pedro as well. Like when Orlando City was probably not doing so well, but the national team was winning games, Pedro will go all out. It's just the same way with the national team for Marco. I mean, now I do feel like Marco has been one of the best players in the attack for Orlando City alongside Ivan Angulo. So I just feel like, obviously, if you look at the talent that is in the Croatian team, of course, it makes his life much easier. I mean, he has the back three are top level. You know what I mean? They're the best in their country. So I'm glad I went to the game. Wasn't many of us cheering for Croatia. This is Kenneth Allen. There you go. Well, yeah, I mean, and again, one thing that really upset me was that lack of bite in front of the Colombian fans was insane. Now, I do love this team. I love Colombia. I think it's a phenomenal team. It is a phenomenal country, and they well deserve to be in the World Cup. It's just the players need to show a little more. You know what I mean? Give me 10 less nutmegs, and give me more defensive prowess. You know what I mean? Like I'll take that all day. Now, let's talk now about the GA Cup. If you want to jump into the GA Cup real quick.
Wait, one more thing for international duty.
Mm-hmm.
A couple quick shout outs. Brian Ojeda got in against Greece for Paraguay. He got
Good.
about 11 minutes or so, something like that. So he did pretty well. So shout out to Brian Ojeda for getting some time with that. And then don't forget, we also have a couple of young players up with the youth national teams for the U.S. So Colin Gusky and Justin Ellis are with the U19s I believe they're in Europe right now. They won their game 3-0 on Saturday. So shout out to those guys. Justin Ellis actually got a goal in that game. So shout out to Justin Ellis for scoring there. Tarir Reed Brown is playing with the U.S. Youth National Team U20s. He started that game against Argentina where they won 3-0. Funnily enough, Messi was in the house for that game, and a bunch of the main national teamers were watching Argentina, but the U.S. laid the wood on them, so we love to see that. And they also have another match tomorrow. They play at 9:30, so they'll do that. And then we won't see any games for these guys, but Luis Otavio and Gustavo Caraballo are both with the training camps for the U20s for their respective nations. Luis Otavio with Brazil and Gustavo Caraballo with Venezuela. So both of those guys are getting some very much needed, betting into the team, their international squads and whatnot. So really exciting to see them kind of do that. And then last but not least, Maxime Crépeau is with Canada right now. Dane St. Clair got the first game against Iceland, where Canada came back and drew 2-2. But in the reports, it sounds like Crépeau will get the game tomorrow against Tunisia. So Crépeau will be starting for Canada against Tunisia. So if there's another game you want to tune into, you'll probably have to do a couple different screens to watch all your guys. But you can see Crépeau at that. They kick off at 7:30 against Tunisia. So we'll see if Crépeau can have a better game than St. Clair. If he does, maybe that helps put him ahead in the overall pecking order. But we know for us, he's been to start the season.
This how come Colombia lose to France's B team, bro? Brand's B team or C team.
France's B team could beat a lot of teams.
Yeah, so this is the thing about France is like
they're so nasty.
So to give you so you guys can laugh a little bit. Peru went to the World Cup in 2018. Woohoo! They went to the World Cup 2018, and they in their group it was Denmark. It was France and Australia. Now, again, this is what I'm saying about South America and twin it down a little bit because they got like, oh, we can beat Denmark, we can beat Australia, and then we're gonna struggle against France, And bro, like, why do you talk that way, bro? Like, it's the World Cup. Anybody could, you know what I mean? Shut up. Well, they lost against Denmark, and then they got eliminated because they lost against France. So they lost 2 games back to back. They played the third game. They beat Australia. Woohoo. 1 win. They went home, took pictures, whatever. Now they're like heroes over there, national heroes. Till this day, we're talking about 2026. There are kids and their parents that talk about, we lost against the France of Mbappe and Griezmann. But we play so well, man. We play so good, but we lost. But we play so good, but we lost. And to me, that mentality, it irks me, bro. Because it's like, why will you, like, put that? It's a loss. It doesn't matter if it's 1-0, 2-0, 5-0. Yeah, you could have had a lot of bite and missed a bunch of chances, but you're talking about you still lost. You still were eliminated. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I just don't understand that. It's just, Colombia could have won. They missed some easy chances. Yeah, you're completely right. But now we're going to go back into the U.S. men's national team because we're going to be doing our predictions. But let's go and talk about the GA Cup because the GA Cup right now, it's ongoing, right? Mm-hmm. And right now, everybody go follow the Orlando City SC Academy Twitter. And right now, it was announced the U15s and the U16s are the top of the groups for their respective groups, which is fantastic because the future is purple, guys. We have one of the top academies in the world, and it's showing. What are your thoughts on this, David? I mean, this is fantastic news, and hopefully we still more young lions coming into the purple pipeline.
Yeah, I think it's great. I think it follows up on that great performance that the Academy had last year when they won the whole thing. Mm-hmm. This year they decided to not do the top tier that they did last year, the U18. They dropped it down a level, so U16 was the highest level for this GA Cup. Both teams have looked really solid. I think the U16s have looked a little bit better than the U15s, but both have looked really good. There's some names on there that you'll start to see get into the fold potentially with the U18s, like they'll play up a level or two, and then even potentially could get an OCB contract depending on how well they do. I'm going to put together probably a piece later on after the GA Cup to kind of talk about some of those names and talk about some of these guys. It's hard to get information unless you get it from certain sources, like biased sources and things like that. I don't want to say biased in a bad way, but like normally it comes from like family members or like from Orlando City's academy pages and things like that. So it takes a little bit to find some information, but I plan to put a piece together of some guys you might want to take a look at. But these teams have been really good, and like Luis said, really just plays to our idea that like the academy keeps growing. We keep building a better and better and better academy. We've kind of stolen away some academy kids this year from other academies, and the hopes to bolster our own. So yeah, they're doing really well. So they'll start the knockout stages tomorrow. Everyone got an off day today. So tomorrow the knockout stages will start. So it'll be really exciting. Unfortunately, we haven't been in any of the streamed matches, because there's one field where they can stream the matches from, but we haven't had the opportunity yet, unfortunately. But if you follow this Orlando City SC Academy page, they do a really nice job at updating the scores as they kind of happen and stuff like that. So it's not like minute by minute like we get for the big games, but as soon as the game is done, they'll post some information on there. So really hoping that both of these teams can go a really long way and potentially winning another GA Cup.
100%. Right now, it looks like in Group J, Orlando City is top of the group with 7 points, 2 wins, no losses. Also, the Sounders are second with 5. Then the International Football Academy of New England, they're third with 3 points. And Minnesota United is last, fourth with 3 points. So right now, Orlando is doing pretty good. When it comes to the U16s, same. So the U16s, let me go ahead and look right now. There you go. And it's showing me a different bracket, but they're also top of their list right now.
So in the next games for both teams, the U15s will take on NYCFC's U15s. And then the U16s will take on New England Revolution.
That's a championship playoff.
Yeah. And so some other teams that are sort of in this tournament, in case you weren't aware of how international it is, Boca Juniors U16s are in this tournament. Club America's U16s are in this tournament. FC Copenhagen's U16s are in this tournament. So there's a fair amount of international firepower throughout here. So there's some really good teams. Toulouse's U15 team is in it. So a lot of really good stuff. So, obviously you can't win every championship, but the farther these boys go and the more fight 100%. They show, the better it looks for Orlando City's academy.
Yeah, 100%. And hopefully this is the beginning of getting the new Guskies, the new Freemans, the new Taifis. And again, these are players. Yeah, the new Caravellos. These are players when they get to MLS Next Pro or even the first team, they're going to love the badge. They're going to love defending Orlando City's colors. It's a little different than when you just, get a player from abroad and you bring him into the system. These players are going to be ready and already played in purple for their youth. So once they get professional, you're going to see that bite, kind of what you're seeing right now with this Orlando City that's not doing so great, but you see a lot of bite coming up from Gusky, coming in from a lot of the young Lions like Taifis and things like that. So good for them. We definitely should feel very proud of the job that the academy is doing. And again, we're building for the future. Let's read some comments. Adriana Camarini says, Bragantino U16s from Brazil. Red Bull Bragantino, first of their group. There you go. Thank you.
Sorry, Andrea, I missed that. That's my bad.
It says here, why didn't the U.S. men's national team play against France since they came to the U.S. for the friendlies? Kind of strange.
I mean, I'm kind of glad. I feel like France would.
Yeah,
France would have whooped them pretty bad.
They would have put a kind of whoop ass for sure. But anyways, let's talk about Ricardo Moreira, because Orlando City GM and sporting director Ricardo Moreira played obviously a central role in signing Orlando City's new signing, which is Antoine Griezmann from Atletico Madrid, on a 2-year deal starting July of 2026. Morera visited Madrid in 2025. He kind of groomed and built a relationship, and he's discussed the move's impact, and he pretty much said he's elevating Orlando City attacking profile, bringing world-class experience and creativity to MLS, boosting the squad's mentality and brand. Obviously, Griezmann came down, signed, and they even took modeling pictures that I saw today. He was going like, right, and right, and Morera highlighted the hours of long conversations that sealed it, and the immediate on-field and off-field value that Griezmann brings to this squad, which is definitely, I consider it a major coup for the MLS and also for Orlando City, even though over there in Europe are saying, "Oh, he's gonna go retire." Like, okay, guys, whatever. It's I think it's fantastic that he's bringing at a top level still, bringing his swag, coming here, being a leadership figure, and we desperately needed it, man. I mean, since Nani, we've haven't had that mindset. Thoughts on let's you want to break it down because I know you wrote a piece. It was really interesting on your Twitter. I'm gonna
Yeah.
share it right now. But what are your thoughts on what Ricardo said?
Yeah, so first of all, before I get into this, I'm going to start off with Ricardo, if you're watching, because I know sometimes you watch. I want to apologize for last week of coming out a little hot and saying maybe things were not as complete or put together. That's my bad. I should have trusted you. I get you. I see it now. I get it now. This interview also helped a lot. So I want to talk about this a little bit. So he did an interview on Sirius XM FC. I know a lot of people maybe don't have satellite
People
radio,
still listen to Siri?
but yeah, so those that do, though, he did an interview with Max Bretos, who's kind of been around the U.S. soccer scene for a while, and Dax McCarty, who obviously is an Orlando local, obviously played in MLS for a very long time, all that kind of stuff. So they had an interview with him.
He never liked Orlando. I mean, we can say he could be in Orlando, but he always talked crap about Orlando. Sorry.
Anyway, the interview was about 15 minutes long, and the first thing they asked him is they kind of just asked him about a retelling of the story. How did they find a way to get Griezmann to Orlando City? They used Ricardo used the analogy of he flirted with a lot of teams in MLS, but we were the ones that gave him the ring, and he accepted. So I thought that was a pretty funny analogy in terms of, we offered him the ring and, we brought him here and all that kind of stuff. And sort of to Luis's point, he talked about the leadership quality that he brings, the bulldog that he is on the field, and then the really nice guy that he is off the field. He talked about the leadership mentality that people aren't talking about. He said, hey, I don't want to highlight the jersey sales and ticket sales. There are smarter people than me that focus on that, but we know that there'll be a draw and all that kind of stuff.
I'm sure.
But then he was asked, where does he see Griezmann playing? How, and then what is the bigger impact, on the club, and how supportive were the ownership? And so he started by saying the goal for the club is to put Griezmann as close to goal as he can, because he has to have goal contributions. He made comments about the interplay between him and Martin Ojeda, as well as between Pasalic and Angulo. So all the interplays of all those attackers, he talked about that. He very specifically mentioned that he sees Griezmann as a very versatile player, but more specifically, he sees him as a false nine or a second striker. Those were the two things that he mentioned straight off the bat. He also mentioned a formation of Duncan Maguire up top, Martin Ojeda out left, Antoine Griezmann either starting next to Duncan and then dropping in, or starting at the 10 spot, and then Pasalic on the right was kind of like the formation that he had thrown out there at first. And then he kind of walked back a little bit and said, oh, but we also have had really good luck with Angulo. We've also had really good luck with a couple other players, so there's some other people we could piece in there as well. He then moved on and answered the ownership question and said ownership had been really supportive and open to spending during this entire process, which we've kept telling you guys since the offseason. The ownership was willing to spend. It wasn't about being cheap. This ownership team wanted to spend. But he did also say that they were supportive of the idea that this team might need to take 2 steps back in order to move farther forward. And so with that, he was alluding to things of like parting ways with Oscar Pareja, and then, parting ways with some players that have been with Orlando City for a very long time and that we needed to say goodbye to, like Pedro Galese and Rodrigo Schlegel, and Cesar Araujo and all these other people, right? Then he talked about kind of the plan about the U22s, and that unfortunately we're not following the plan of the U22s. The plan was to never throw them into the team and hope they could swim. The plan was to kind of slow roll it, get them accustomed to the country, get them used to everything, and then start to layer them in places they could layer them in. But unfortunately, injuries and things happened, and they were forced into service. And he says that's kind of what happens when you force these young kids into these spots. They can sometimes sink, and that happens, right, with young players. Then this is where it gets really interesting, and this is the part that I really wanted to highlight for Orlando City. He says in the interview, because Max Bretos asks, with the World Cup coming, is this team prepared to make another splash in the market? Like, are they ready to potentially convince some more talent to come to Orlando City? And he says both Marco Pasalic and Brian Ojeda can be bought down from their DP spots, and that Brian Ojeda was only in the spot as a cap relief mechanism. That's really interesting, because we hadn't heard up until this point that Marco Pasalic was technically in a position to be bought down. And especially with the GAM number that we saw released earlier this year, which was around, I think it was like 600,000, I think is what we had left in GAM. For him to say that Pasalic could technically be bought down is very, very fascinating to me. So this team could theoretically, if they're able to scrape together the money, could not only buy down Brian Ojeda, which they'll have to do to fit Griezmann into the roster, but they could also potentially keep Marco Pasalic and buy down Marco Pasalic as well. So really interesting things to think about and what you can do here. Moving on in the transfer conversation, he also says that they're actively looking to reinforce the defense in the summer. They want to add 1 or 2 players to help reinforce the defensive spine. And he says other moves could come with that as well if need be. So by that, I think that means if we have to transfer people out, we will transfer people out in order to make that work. And then they asked about Pasalic because this was right after the Croatia game. They asked him, what did you think of the performance and all that kind of stuff? He had nothing but great things to say about Marco Pasalic. He said he was the player of the match, all that kind of stuff. He was really excited about the game that he had put in. But he did say that the team is prepared in case clubs start calling about Marco Pasalic. He did start by saying they want to keep Pasalic. They think he's very happy here. He's got his family here. He really wants to see this project through. They think Griezmann's going to be another reason why Pasalic will want to stay, because he'll get to play with a world-class player and Griezmann. But if clubs do call and the offer does come on the table, they're prepared to know what their asking price is going to be, and they already have a sort of a contingency plan for it. And one of the things that he mentioned was either Tincho or Griezmann could go out right if the team needed them to push out right. So I'm personally not the biggest fan of putting Griezmann out right, but I get it. Like, it's possible if you need to go do that. And then my last kind of thought on all of this was that I think what this interview really showed more than anything was the overall vision that we've believed has been there with Ricardo Moreira, but at moments we maybe haven't seen as much, right? And so I think this made me more of a believer versus last week, that the plan is there. We just need time. And this team's going to go through some growing pains while it happens. But Ricardo Moreira knows where he wants to drive this ship, right? Like, he knows what direction he wants to bring this team in. And I think Griezmann is a good start to what this team can really build towards going forward.
Yeah, I mean, at 35, definitely. I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, some of the pros, which I think it's great with, that you highlighted that on your X account, and the interview. I wish I had Sirius, but I don't. At 35, obviously he's no longer a goal scoring machine, a 90-minute goal scoring machine, but he delivers elite intelligence, vision, finishing, the link up play, 17 goal contributions so far in La Liga. He could, and I'm saying could, because it also has to do a lot with Duncan, right? It has also a lot to do with Pasalic. It also has to do about Ojeda and Angulo. He can make those players better, but also has to be in them, and they also have to be willing to be better. That's what I'm trying to say. It's not all on Griezmann. They need to create chances. Griezmann is going to put the chances for them, and he's going to pull defenders out of position for them. They just got to make it happen. Definitely his leadership and mentality, I think it's phenomenal. I think we haven't had it in a long time. The pressing and work rate, I think, is fantastic. The press from front to back, it's something that fits modern MLS, and he has that a lot. Also, the marketing side, in which, it's a win for the MLS. It's a win for Orlando City. I already started seeing on Facebook fans stop without BS saying, "Oh, I'm no longer a DP." They stopped, and a lot of people showing their Griezmann jerseys. Obviously, we're gonna have to expect sold out games and jersey sales explosions, global attention, all of that. Even with limited minutes, I do still believe that there's a playoff push potential for Orlando City. I mean, I think a talented squad they do have. Now, what are to me some of the that I would like to see not happen? And this interview highlights that they have a plan, which I'm happy about because I'm glad that they have a plan because obviously at 35, his pace and endurance is definitely reduced. I mean, I'm in my 40s.
Luis, to fight back a little bit, the numbers don't say that. I'm just gonna be
Right.
honest, because again, as you know, and we'll talk about this later, I've looked at the numbers. You're right. Normally
Right.
at 35,
But
you would be, but the numbers
right,
haven't shown that so far.
right. But you don't want a Barbara Band-Aid. You don't want to make him your only
sure.
right. So, and that's what I was getting at.
Yeah.
Orlando right now lacks structure right now. Historically, big names like Kaká and Nani didn't transform the team into contenders because the supporting cast wasn't elite. If you would have put Nani in an elite squad or at least two better DPs than what he had, I guarantee you we probably would have won that MLS's back tournament. Griezmann.
Well, here's a perfect example, Luis. I think if you put Luis Nani on the 2024 team that made it to the Eastern Conference Finals,
right,
I think you're talking about potentially a championship team.
100%. Now,
yeah.
Griezmann isn't a modern high volume DP like younger stars, like the ones that we see now, like Lamine Yamal or things like that. But he is a cerebral playmaker who needs the right system and the teammates around them. And that to me, I think it's important because obviously as a high salary DP, he could definitely boost Pasalic, Ojeda, and Angulo, as already mentioned. But we also have to take into consideration that this is going to be and I'm glad that he brought that up, that there's plans of even boosting the team beyond, because I think what fans don't want is another kind of 2015 or another 2017 Orlando City. You know what I mean? They want Orlando City to compete on all levels. Yes, obviously the coach search and all of that. They need to build around Griezmann and for Griezmann and get the right DPs that are going to catapult this team. He cannot do it on his own. That's what I'm trying to say. I mean, and I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just saying. I mean, I feel like you're putting too much into a basket if you don't surround them with elite.
Well, and there's a clock, right? Like, right. For sure a year and a half, potentially 2.5 years, right? So that's your timetable with Griezmann, right?
Yeah.
That's how much time you have. And so I will say this. I think Ojeda is a very good partner for Griezmann.
Me too.
Based on the numbers I've looked at and what we know Martin Ojeda can do, I think he's a really good fit. I think the question becomes, can this team potentially add just a little bit more quality in the attack to take it to the next level, right?
Yeah.
And then can we solidify the defense behind him to stop leaking goals so that this team can be competitive, right? Because we can't just be on the front foot and have no defense behind him, right? So the goal, I'm sure, for a lot of fans is, and I've seen this a lot, right? A lot of fans are like, don't worry, we're getting Robin Janssen back, and Wilder Cartagena is going to come back. We don't know what those two guys are going to be when they come back. We hope they're good. We need them to be good, but we don't know that until they touch grass, right? Until they're on the field for us, we don't know. And so,
no, go ahead, man.
What I would say is, I still am in the camp where I think Pasalic is gone in the summer because I think he does enough for himself where he's gone. What I would say at that point then is that you really need to take it a step farther and nail that third DP to make sure that they fit exactly what you're looking for. And if Pasalic isn't gone and we actually can buy him down, which I believe, Ricardo, that we can, you swing for the fences, man. Go get yourself another DP who is arguably world-class like Griezmann is, and 100%. Bring them in here and change the dynamic of this team.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean,
because I think that's exactly what you can do if you're able to do that. Because the nice thing about Griezmann, and Ricardo talked about it, right? is this dude can play in so many spots on the park. He can
Super
play
versatile.
yeah. He can play as
100%.
a false 9. He can play as the
100%.
second striker off of somebody. He can play as even an 8, a box-to-box if you want him to play as a box-to-box. He can play as a pure 10. He's got all those talents to do that. The thing is, though, is that when he wants to go do the things he wants to go do, which the two big things are he's really great at progressive passing and progressive carries. The guy loves to get into the final third one way or another. You've got to have somebody on the end who's going to be able to finish the chances that maybe at this age he can't finish as well anymore, right? He's still going to finish some balls. There's no question about that. But he's not the pure finisher he was 10 years ago, right? Or even 5 years ago.
Right, of course.
So my next question, and I saw Kenneth put it in the chat, is Duncan Maguire the guy that's going to get that done for him? As of right now, I don't think so. If that's the case, I think you need to go out and get a striker, and you need to get a guy who can bang in goals.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're spot on with your analysis. I think the people on the chat are spot on with their analysis also. And again, it's a win for Orlando to bring Griezmann in. I think he's a phenomenal player. I love the fact that in another interview, Ricardo brought up the fact that he was well aware where he was coming, the situation of the team, what players he had around him. He knew their names, he knew their positions, he knew where he could fit to boost that attacking third. And that to me speaks a lot of the type of player he is. And that's what I'm saying, a cerebral assassin on the attacking third. He can play anywhere there. Now, we cannot put a turtle shell in his back of 100,000 pounds and say, okay, go run. You know what I mean? We need to, I feel the right thing is to surround them with people that are not only going to make him look even better, but also teammates that he can poised to fight for elite level, championship level caliber team, which is what everybody in Orlando wants, for Orlando to be top 4 in the MLS, going for a supporter shield, winning the MLS Cup. I mean, that's what Orlando fans want. So if we're going to do that, we need to learn from the past. And yes, when I say learn from the past, is we have to surround them with good quality. And I agree with you. I think if, let's say, they buy down Pasalic decides to say, hey, look, I look at a Freeman, you know what I mean? He's getting no minutes in Europe. Hey, I want to stay in Orlando. Buy down his contract. I agree with you there, David. Go get another DP. You know what I mean? Go get another player that's going to elevate and partner up with Griezmann up top. Because whether we like it or not, that's what the MLS is doing. That's what the East is. It's so hard. It's so hard to play in the East, you know. And so I would hate for Orlando to just stay complacent on just getting Griezmann and that's it, you know. And I want to tell the fandom, all these interviews I think Ricardo's making, I think it's fantastic because it kind of gives you the idea that there is a plan behind it. And so just like I saw with the Pride, because they're making a lot of decisions then also that were a little controversial, well, then now it paid dividends because look at that. They won the championship, right? Maybe we're seeing something like this from the ownership when it comes to City now. Now you have a guy who is the sole, like, you know, he's the king right there, king of the castle. Look at my big chair, looking at the castle, right? He's right there directing everything. There is a plan. I'm glad that there is a plan. You know what I mean? So
agreed.
I'm excited, man. I just can't wait. I'm gonna get my Griezmann jersey too, bro. I'm excited. I can't wait to speak some French. Says, are there any potential world-class players that you think Griezmann can convince to come over, similar to what Messi did? Says Vapor. Perhaps he already had some people in mind. Well, this is a great question, and I feel like if he has been watching Orlando City, I guarantee you, if Ricardo or even Perlman will ask him, "Hey, who are you thinking for a coach? Who are you? Do you know anybody that may want to come to the MLS?" Bro, you know he's gonna throw us some names. He's going to.
Yeah. I think his former teammate and Memphis Depay is another example. Like if you guys didn't know, they played together a while back. I'm just saying, like, I know I keep banging the drum, but it just makes a
No,
lot of
but
sense. He's
yeah.
playing down in Brazil, which we know, like, Ricardo likes to scout. He's got the bite that you're looking for. He's played with Griezmann already, so he's got the chemistry.
And now look at the depth. Okay, let's say Ricardo pulls that off. Let me dream. Let me smoke that. You know, let me smoke that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just, let's say, look at your depth for attack. Memphis Depay, Duncan Maguire, Justin Ellis. That's your striker core until next season. Then you have Griezmann, Pasalic, Ojeda, Angulo, Tyrese Spicer, if you want to throw at it, right?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like, that's just one name, guys. Now, again, in football or in soccer, anything can happen. But I do agree with David right there. Just one name, look at the difference that it makes in the depth chart. Like, it's great. And that is the Griezmann effect. And that's probably what happened with LAFC with Heung-min Son or with Carlos Vela. And that's probably what happened with Messi. I mean, it's just the way it is. So
it takes one star in the door to get the ball rolling.
Exactly. And I have trust in Ricardo because when it comes to some of his signings, obviously not all signings are going to pan out the way you want to. But one thing that's been consistent with Ricardo is honesty when it came to some of these signings. And two, I mean, we've got a bunch of steals. Like, we've got a Wilder Cartagena coming from Saudi Arabia, I believe, or United Arab Emirates, playing limited minutes, becoming a star here. You had an Ivan Angulo coming from being loaned out everywhere, becoming a star here. The draft of Duncan Maguire. I mean, just a lot of things, a lot of positives of that scouting. Obviously some botches like the Muriel, the Caras and things like that, the Van der Waters, right? But that's going to happen eventually. But there's more positive in his record than negative. So I have full trust there. Excited for sold out games come July. Let's get into that. There you go. Let's go. Yeah. I mean, this is great for STM. Oh, as an STM, how do you feel about it?
Yeah, I mean, I feel good. I'll love to see him play. Obviously, I love to get
more value to your ticket. More value to your ticket.
I mean, I'm worried about the renewal cost now. I think my price is going to go up, unfortunately. But no, it'll be nice to. I like when the stadium's full, man. I don't want empty seats next to me. I'm not looking for that. It's going to get a little annoying because there's going to be some people there that are only going to be there for Griezmann, and that's it. But that's what you get when you bring a star in of his caliber, right? It's just one of those things. Couple names real quick that I can fire off in rapid fashion if people want to talk about some people. His friend at Atletico Madrid right now, Koke, doesn't have a contract next year. Just saying, if you want to bring in a midfielder,
let's do it.
You could bring in Koke. That's somebody that I'm thinking about because I was also thinking about the midfield, like Leon Goretzka is another guy.
Goretzka will be great.
Yeah, Bernardo Silva just announced he's not going back to Manchester City. So if you want to bring in a Bernardo Silva, so I'm just saying there's a few amount of people in there. I did see, to go back to the comments real quick before we move on. I did see a question from Adriana. Oh, sorry. Right before that, I saw from Kenneth about how long we'll have Griezmann here for. So we'll have him for this half of the season. We'll have him for the sprint season and then the 27-28 season. So
he has an option, but
so those are the guaranteed times. So you'll have him for the rest of the season, the sprint season, and the 27-28 season. And then he has an option for the 28-29 season, which I would imagine we're going to extend unless he's bad, but I doubt he's going to be that bad. And then the comment right below it from Adriana about, is there any news about a new coach? No, I have not heard anything yet. But also it gets a little quiet this time of year because of the international break and all that kind of stuff. I expect things to ramp up a little bit more. But also, like Luis said, I wouldn't be surprised if Griezmann has put a couple names in the front office's ear of like, hey, I'd love to play for this guy, or he might be a good manager for us. So we'll see. It'll speed up a little bit. I'm still convinced this will be a around the World Cup kind of hire. I still
Yeah,
think
me
that's
too.
about the time you're going to end up seeing that happen. I wouldn't be surprised with Ricardo planning as far ahead as he is. He might want to see who's available after the World Cup manager wise. There might be some guys who are available that Ricardo would want to go talk to and say, hey, would you want to come back to club football and maybe coach over here? So we'll see. We'll see what that looks like. There's a couple of world managers I'd be interested in if they were interested.
Yeah, I mean, it just has to be a coach that is going to bring the best out of Griezmann, is going to bring the best out of the whole entire team.
It
So, and it
sells
has to,
Felipe Luis. I'll say
yeah,
that. Like
to
we've
me,
been banging the
I
drum of
like,
Felipe Luis, but
and I
they know
like
each other
it
well.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So let's do our predictions for the World Cup real quick before we go. And I thank everybody that's watching. So obviously we have to pick. Obviously, there's the teams are still in the World Cup right now. Um, obviously, Italy is facing Bosnia, right?
Mhm.
That's the first one. Um, between Italy and Bosnia, who will you think it will go?
I'm taking Italy. I think they have just
Yeah,
enough to get past
me,
Bosnia.
me too. Let's go Italy. Now on UEFA Path B, we're looking at Sweden. I believe it's Sweden and I believe it's Sweden and Poland. Who do you go from Sweden and Poland?
I'm taking Poland.
Sweden and Poland. You're taking Poland?
I'm taking Poland.
All right, so tomorrow at 2:45 they play Sweden and Poland. Are you gonna take Poland? I'm gonna take Poland as well. All right. Now the next one is going to be that looks like a weird it's Kosovo. Well, Kosovo. What? Kosovo and Turkey.
I'm taking Turkey.
Me too. Yeah, Turkey all the way, man. Happy Thanksgiving. And then here you have obviously Czech Republic and Denmark.
I'm
I'm
taking the
picking.
Danes.
Me too. I'm taking Denmark all the way. So with that, we have also two intercontinental playoffs tomorrow. So when it comes to that, we're looking at Jamaica and Congo facing tomorrow. Who do you go for?
My CONCACAF's not going to like me. I'm taking Congo over
Me too.
Jamaica.
I'm taking Congo. I'm
They are a
taking
nasty
Congo.
team.
They're nasty, bro. They're so physical. It's unbelievable. Now, here it's going to be between Bolivia and Iraq.
Yep.
I'm going for my Cholos Bolivianos.
I am
My
also as
Bolivia.
well. I like Bolivia in this game.
I'm going to go for Bolivia 110%. So continue to bracket. All right. So these are the brackets. So first place, second place, and third place. There you go. So who do you have on Group A?
I think Mexico finishes top of the group.
Okay.
And then I have Denmark and then South Africa.
Okay.
Sorry. Excuse me. I have Mexico, South Korea, Denmark, South Africa. That's my order. Sorry. I messed that up.
All right. Group B.
Group B, I've got give me interesting. I'll take Canada in the top spot. Then give me Italy, Qatar, and then Switzerland in that order.
So you're gonna go Canada first, Italy second, Qatar,
Yes.
and then Switzerland.
Yep.
Group C.
Group C, I still think Brazil is. Actually, excuse me, I don't have Brazil. I have Morocco taking the top spot in Group C, then Brazil, and then I have Scotland and Haiti is how I have it.
Okay. Group D. Oh my God.
I have Turkey winning the group.
Okay.
And then I have the United States, then Paraguay, then Australia.
All right. Group E.
I know some people maybe not like that. Group E, I'm going Germany. I'm going Germany, Ivory Coast, Ecuador, and Curacao.
Man, how come Curacao is in this, bro? Come on, man. Whatever. This is and Peru's not in it, and Curacao is. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Whatever. Group F, you got Netherlands, Japan, Poland, and Tunisia.
I have the Netherlands taking the top spot. Then I'm going Poland, Japan, then Tunisia.
Okay. Group G.
I'll take Belgium. And then I'll go.
Is Iran even playing?
I'll go Egypt. Then I'll go Iran, then New Zealand.
There you go. Group H. Oh, that's easy.
I'll go Spain. And then I'm going to go Uruguay and then Saudi Arabia.
Cape Verde, bro. Cape Verde. That sounds like Mount Verde from freaking Claremont. Come on, bro. And Group I.
I'm going to go France.
Of course.
Then I'm going to go Senegal, taking the second spot.
Yeah.
Then Norway, then Bolivia.
Yeah. The Group J, your favorite group.
Give me Argentina to take the group. Then I'll take. I'm gonna take Algeria, then Austria, then Jordan.
How can Jordan? I haven't heard since like since like the Bible, bro. Like, what the hell? What's Jordan doing there? All right, Group K.
I'm taking Portugal, and then I'm gonna do Colombia, and then the Congo. But I think that's gonna be close. And then Uzbekistan.
Uzbekistan.
Right. Yep.
Group L. That's for John right here.
Actually, I go in that order: England, then Croatia, then Ghana, then Panama.
All right. So out of these 8, choose the 8 third place teams that advance to the round of 22.
Okay. I think Norway makes it through. Let's see what else. I would take Saudi Arabia and Ghana in that last category. I'm sold by both of those teams.
Okay, so you want to go Saudi Arabia, then Ghana.
Yep. And then, let's see. I'll take the Congo. I like the Congo a lot. I think they can do some damage in this tournament. Scotland, I like as well. I think Scotland could get there. And then we need 3 more. Okay. Let's go Ecuador. I'll take Ecuador. I'll take Denmark. And I'll take Japan.
Yeah. All right. So, man, look at this. So, are we going all out? Okay, we're going all out. We're going all out. So,
okay.
Germany, Scotland.
I take Germany. Scotland.
Yeah. France, Japan.
France.
I'm going to France. South Korea, Italy.
I'm going to take South Korea.
Yeah, me too. Netherlands, Brazil.
Oh,
what a game! I'm gonna go Brazil.
People are gonna hate this. I'm going Netherlands. Give me the Dutch.
Morocco, Poland.
Morocco. Love Morocco.
Ivory Coast, Senegal. Ivory Coast, they just thrashed one of their friendlies too. So.
Funnily enough, though, I'm gonna take Senegal. I like them a little bit better.
Yeah, I like them too.
I like that AFCON matchup though. That's good.
Man, look at the Mexicans. So lucky. Mexico and Saudi Arabia.
Let's go Mexico. I think Mexico helps. I think that being at altitude helps. England over Congo. Yeah.
Yep. Colombia, Croatia. Oh, rematch.
Croatia over Colombia. I'm going Croatia over Colombia again.
Spain, Algeria.
Spain.
I mean, there's no way. I mean, that would be a stunner.
Yeah.
Turkey, Norway.
I'm gonna go Norway. I like Norway.
Belgium, Denmark.
Give me Belgium.
Argentina, Uruguay. Oh my God, what a match!
I'm taking Uruguay over Argentina.
Oh, bro, that's gonna be, bro. Man, that's crazy. United States, Egypt. I think the U.S.
Nope. I take Egypt, but people will hate me, so you can do the U.S. if you want to.
That's fine. No, you can do Egypt.
No. Luis, go back. Let's take the U.S. Okay, I think they might have enough. Yeah, let's take the U.S.
All right, Canada, Ecuador. Yeah. Portugal, Ghana.
Portugal.
All right. So we're looking at the round of 16.
Oh, Germany against France. I'm taking France. I like both, but I'm taking France.
Me too. South Korea, Netherlands.
South Korea and Netherlands. I'm going to take the Netherlands. I think the Netherlands make it through.
Morocco, Senegal. Oh, that's a
I'm
rematch for
I'm going
AFCON.
Morocco. I think Morocco still got it.
Mexico, England. Oh, come on.
Yeah,
Yeah. John, if you lose this, bro, now you will always be. Oh man, Croatia, Spain.
Spain. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
Croatia,
me
but
too. Yeah,
Spain's
sorry
too
about it.
good.
Norway, Belgium,
I'm taking Belgium.
Uruguay. Oh man, what a game! Uruguay, US.
I'm going U.S. I think they can edge out Uruguay. They beat them before.
Me
They know
too.
how.
Yep. Ecuador, Portugal.
Portugal.
There you go. So now we got quarterfinals.
Oh, France against the Netherlands.
France, Netherlands.
Give me France.
Spain, Belgium.
I'm going to take Spain, but just barely. I think it's a good match.
Morocco, England. Man, what a game.
Give me Morocco.
Yeah.
I'm taking Morocco.
United States, Portugal.
Holy.
Yo,
Portugal. I think this time Portugal, yeah.
Yeah. Look, oh my God, semis.
Give me France.
Yeah, me too, bro. I mean, I will love for Spain to go. Be honest with you, I will love for Spain to go. Don't get me wrong. I will love, but I think in this moments, the mind matters more than what you're playing in the grass.
For sure.
And France has more experience, and Spain, I still their youth. Like Lamine Jamal, there are games that you're like, what the hell is he doing? So I think that's gonna pan out. And this is a map, man. You imagine CR7 in this game? Morocco, Portugal.
I'm taking Morocco. I just like Morocco that much.
Really?
I think so. I think they have enough talent.
It's your pick. So the final of the World Cup will be France versus Morocco, and the third place match is going to be Spain versus Portugal. What a bunch of games! Okay, so you want to go for the
third place match? I take Spain over Portugal.
Okay, and
then to win it all, I take France.
All right, France is a world champion.
Gets another one. Yeah, I think they get another one.
Man, even Morocco getting silver medal. That's amazing. It says Ruben
I think
Perez.
Morocco's that good. I do. I think people are sleeping on Morocco.
This is Argentina will win again. They will be received at Casa Rosada. No Europeans, please. Rooting for Kosovo. They have a home game.
I am too. To mess this whole thing up, Copacetic Buddha. I'd love for Kosovo to figure out a way.
Yeah, me too. It would be fantastic. So this is obviously recorded. So I will do mine.
So dunk on me.
No. I mean, if he gets it, you have to understand. He predicted that France is going to win the world championship, which is actually pretty accurate because France is flying, dude. Like they have an amazing team. But obviously, I'm going to do mine next week. So make sure you tune in next week. No, actually, we're doing a pod Thursday because the game's coming up.
To talk about LFC. Before we wrap things up, Luis, I do want to share one more thing. If you guys don't follow me on Instagram or Twitter, I did put out my player profile for Antoine Griezmann today. It is a delicious 7,600 word story on Antoine Griezmann. I have poured blood, sweat, and tears into this article. So I would love it if you guys could check it out. I did a really nice thing in this article. If Luis scrolls down a little bit for me.
I'm gonna put it also on the chat so people can go
nice. So I put a table of contents in it so you can actually go and bounce to those parts of the article if you want to. But I do it like all my other player profiles. So I talk about his background, his club and international career. I talk about his stats, all the different things. All those numbers come from Opta and Y-Scout and everything like that. But there's some stuff in there. I'll comment on Kenneth Allen stuff real quick in a second here. But I talk about all of his stats and sort of how he's ranked. And then I get in comparisons, and I do a nice comparison between Luis Nani, who was our last, obviously, star DP that came in. And then I also compare him to Emil Forsberg and Thomas Mueller, because they both came over from Europe as well. So I thought those were good comps to kind of talk about. And then after that, I go into a section about how Antoine Griezmann fits Orlando City. So I talk about formations and tactics and things like that. Kenneth, to get to your comment. You read it all but got lost after the heat maps. So let me give you a little bit of insight to help you maybe get back on track. And if you have any more questions, Kenneth, feel free to reach out. I'm always happy to talk ball and talk tactics. But the first thing that I talk about in this section is, if you aren't familiar with how we talk about the pitch, there are what we call 5 lanes on the soccer pitch. You have your wide areas on both sides, right? So your wide areas on both sides, your left wide area and your right wide area. Then you have the half spaces that I talk about all the time. So you have the left half space and the right half space. That's from the edge of the 18 till like a sliver of the box, and I have it in my article if you want to take a look at it. And then the center part, or what we like to call the center channel, is sort of the center of the field. It's pretty obvious to talk about. Now, on the football pitch itself, there are 3 thirds. The defensive third, which is obviously from your end line into about 30, 40-ish yards out. Then you have the middle third, which is from that space to the opposite team's sort of area there. That's your biggest sort of third and chunk. And then your attacking third, which is about 40 yards out from your opponent's box, all the way, of course, to your opponent's goal. So those are the basics that you kind of need to understand when I'm talking about that, because I talk about half spaces, wide areas, central channels, which thirds I'm talking about. So I put those graphics in there for you to help you guys hopefully understand. If you want me to actually do like a video recording to break it all down, I'm more than happy to do that. Just let me know. Now, to get to the heat maps, because that's where Kenneth was a little confused. On the heat maps, the stronger the color, so the redder the color, the more concentrated Griezmann is in those areas. So, for example, the heat map that I like to mention a lot is the 24-25 heat map that he has with Atletico Madrid. He had about 2,600 minutes. I thought it was a better sample size for him. In that heat map, you can see a couple different things. Number one, in sort of the left wide area and left half space, he has a lot of congregation of heat, right, in that area, which means he likes to navigate to that area. If you look at the opposite side, he likes to really be in sort of that right half space area as well. And he really likes to be in that space up until you get to the 18. So that's kind of the space that he likes to occupy when he's in the attacking section. The really interesting thing about this heat map that it also shows off is that he's very concentrated in the center of the pitch, as well as a little bit into sort of the upper part of our defensive third. So he really likes to get back and defend when he's asked to defend, which is really awesome. And that's really been a thing under Diego Simeone. Simeone has really asked him to kind of drop back and play in those spaces and in those channels. So in that part where I talk about how he fits Orlando City, I talk about what are ways that he can avoid being in spots where our players already occupy. So, for example, Martin Ojeda, Tincho, likes to occupy a lot of that left half space and left wide area. That's Tincho's area. He loves to occupy those spaces when he has the ball. Marco Pasalic likes to operate in the wide right area until he gets the ball, and then he cuts in like he normally does and occupies that right half space that exists. So Griezmann, if he's going to play the false 9, is going to have to know when he can facilitate in that right half space and in that left half space, but also pick up a little bit more possession and progressive passing in that central channel. And so I talk about that a little bit in this article, especially towards the end. I put some graphics in there to talk about where he takes his progressive actions, where he takes his progressive passing, where he takes his progressive ball progressing, and all that kind of stuff. And then I end the article with the idea of which formations can we play with Antoine Griezmann. I talk about a 4-2-3-1 because that's what we play now. So I talk about, is there a way we can fit him in? So I give you a graphic of how the team would set up if they were moving forward, and then I give you a graphic of what it looks like in attack, because I think it's good for fans to understand what that looks like. I talk about a 4-4-2. I don't go diamond, I go flat. I don't like the diamond as much with this team. I talk about a 3-4-3, and then I talk about a 3-5-2. And then those are all the formations that I end with. But just to kind of give sort of just the conclusion, Luis, and I'll let everybody else kind of read their own thing. But as the conclusion, the line that I like the most is that really the things that people need to remember is he may be easy going off the field, but he's a fighter on it, and he's going to drag this team to a fighting mentality. He's not going to necessarily bring the Latin chippiness that this team has possessed in the past, but the fight is just as important. I, like many, can't wait to see him on the pitch and see what effect he has on this season. We may be too far gone in the season for him to make waves when he arrives in July, but we build in the back half, and it'll be important to see what other competitions we can compete in as we get into the short season. If you aren't excited already, you should be. This summer is going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to have a French flair. So those are the parting words I want to leave on you as we talk about this article. But again, I would love for you to read the article, share it with any Orlando City fans that you know that might like it. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns about it, feel free to DM me if you want it to be more private, or if you just want to put it out there, by all means, feel free to share it with everybody you know.
Thank you, David. Appreciate it. Make sure that you check out the article that's right there on our website, and it's also linked on the chat box right here on YouTube. Make sure you click on there, and you can subscribe. Every time we put an article, you'll get an alert on your email, I think. So just make sure that you do that. Again, thank you to everybody that watched today. We'll be back on Thursday for more Loud and Proud Orlando. We're going to be previewing the game against LAFC. Listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. We're also on X, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram as Loud and Proud Orlando. Again, thank you guys for your support. The Pride Pod is next in the next 5 minutes. We'll see you guys then. Vamos, Orlando. Take care, guys.